Hi, welcome to the award-winning Ed Brown Show. And what we're going to do, we're going to continue with this road to success. You know, most of us, road to success, we think of one thing, we think of business. But, you know, a lot of people out there own real estate. A lot of people, they don't know what to do when they actually get real estate. Here we have with us Mr. Murray and the road to success. Mr. Murray has all kinds of experience dealing with real estate. Well, welcome, Mr. Murray.
Ed, thank you. As always, it's always a pleasure being here with you. Just being in your company, your wisdom, your knowledge, it's a blessing to me.
Well, one thing, we talked off camera about real estate, and a lot of people take it for granted. They live in their house, and possibly they've never invested in real estate. Tell us a little bit about investing in real estate.
Well, Ed, how I got in real estate was I was an investor. I was
Right.
buying, fixing up, and flipping. And so I came to the conclusion that I could do this for myself. All I had to do was just go learn, because there's things I needed to know that I was depending on someone else to do for me. So I said, okay, I'm looking for another avenue of knowledge and expertise. So I had a friend that was in real estate. She said, look, I've been trying to get you in real estate for a while. You taught me business.
Yes.
And I'm going to repay a favor by I'm going to help you with your real estate. And so I got into real estate, Ed. It's been now 10 years. I've been in real estate doing investing. I'm one of the top agents in the Washington metropolitan area, Washington, D.C. area. And I help people get that American dream of home ownership.
Now, that the American dream of home ownership, most Americans, they can't achieve that goal. You find a high percentage of people, and it's increasing, are investing in home ownership. Now, tell us some of the flaws that you run into when you get into real estate buying.
Well, Ed, one of the biggest things when people come into my office and they sit down and talk to me, and they tell me, well, my girlfriend told me this, and my friend told me that, and my coworker told me this. I tell them they're not experts. They don't know the real estate industry. You have to go to a professional to give you the ins and outs of real estate. They don't understand the importance of having the right realtor, having the right mindset, and the credit. Credit is one of the main things.
Yeah, tell us
in
about
real
that.
estate.
Yeah.
Right now, the requirements for real estate to purchase a home, your credit score has to be at least a 640.
Now, what about this? Who decides what your credit score is?
Well, unfortunately, Ed, it's the banks. They want you to be dependable. They want you to be able to afford your home. See, that's what happened with the market when it crashed. They were giving everyone. They didn't care if you qualified a home, and so you're always going to. You're living the want lifestyle instead of the need lifestyle. Well, I want this big, huge house, and my note is this much, when you can't afford it. With today, the way they've changed the rules and cracked down on the finance companies and everything, Ed, you have to qualify on a more stringent basis, which is great. It really is, because they used to give you 100% financing. There's no more 100% financing.
So how much is it now?
96.5. You have to come up with 3.5% of the price of your home. So that boils down to, then they're saying you're putting skin in the game. You got your own money in it. And that makes a big difference, because you have less likely to want to lose your money. So the banks now finance 96.5%. You have to have 3.5%. Which is the reason one of the things, Ed, that I teach them when I'm talking to my clients, or when I'm out speaking and teaching about wealth, you have to live below your means, never above your means.
Right.
When you live below your means, that's when you're saving money.
Right.
Because you can't go and buy a house if you don't have a savings. One of the things they ask you is, one of the main first thing, how much money do you have saved in the bank? How much money have you saved?
That's the first question.
Yes, because they want to make sure that you can afford the home, that you're reliable, and that you're not living above your means.
Well, what about the salary? A lot of people, based on their salary, they get approved.
Well, and it depends on your salary. See, you have to be able to afford the house. It goes by your credit score, your debt ratio, your debt ratio.
Well,
Your debt
tell
ratio-
us about the debt ratio.
Your debt ratio is how much are you in debt and how much you're paying out per month compared to what you're bringing in. If you're bringing in, let's say, roughly $3,000 a month, and your bills are coming to $2,500, $2,700, your debt ratio is too high. It's how much you're paying out to how much you're bringing in.
Well, the coming in and paying out. Now, what happens when it's two individuals? Maybe they're married, maybe they're not. Well, how does the bank decide on that?
Because they still look at how much your bills are.
Of the two individuals?
Yes, because here's the thing about a credit card. If you have a credit card that has a $5,000 limit on it, and you want to buy a home, you don't want to be owing no more than 33% of your limit. Because your debt ratio, they look at wants to be 32, 33, 35%. So if your debt ratio of what you're paying out to what you're bringing in is high, you can't afford that house. If you're paying your rent, your car note, your utilities, your food bill, and all the other necessities, and your rent is $1,200, well, and your debt ratio is high, how are you going to be able to afford a $1,500, $1,700, $2,000 house note when you don't have that much left over to cover the difference of what you're paying for rent and what your note's going to be? So it's your debt ratio is very important. You should never, ever max out your credit cards. Never max your cards. Never. Max your cards.
But that's the way some of them trap people. The debt ratio, they max out the card. They give you a card for $5,000, and really you can't afford that $5,000.
Well, see, that's when you're living above your means. So you're living off your credit instead of living off of your cash flow. If you can't pay off that bill in a month, you don't want to purchase that item. See, the major problem, Ed, that we have is when I keep saying we're living a want lifestyle instead of a need lifestyle, where you're out and you say, oh gosh, that purse is on sale, it's 20% off. You know, I got to get that, or there's them shoes I've been wanting, and they got a 10% sale. And you look at your credit card, your interest rate is 15, 20, 25%. And now you have a credit card that's $1,000, and every month you owe $800, $900, or $1,000 on it. You're living above your means. You have to learn to live below. So your credit card, you've got to learn about credit and how to manage credit. Because it's very important that you never be late on a bill. Never be late on a bill. Because see, on your credit report, it's going to have a 30, a 60, and a 90-day column. And if you got, and how many times you're 30 days late on a bill? How many times you're 60 days late on a bill? How many times you're 90 days late on a bill? That means a lot. That shoots you down right there. If you got them lates on there, bank's not going to loan to you because you're telling them I'm not dependable on paying my bills, and I'm living above my means. And at the end of the month, I always got more month than I do money.
Right.
And that's very important. I mean, real estate is one of the best things you could ever buy. I would never tell no one not to buy a house, but you have to prepare for it. Talk to someone, go talk to a professional that can sit down and explain to you what you need to do and what it takes. Now see, I have a program, Ed, where I sit down with my clients and I let them know this is what you need to do. I'll monitor you. I'll give you what to do. I'm not going to do it for you. That's what you have to do. But I will tell you what you need to do. I will check in with you every month to make sure you're doing what I'm telling you. So within that
you
period
give
of
them
time,
advice.
yes,
Yeah, right.
And
so you make a preparation.
Yes,
You
I'm
prepare.
preparing them. You know, because a lot of them they just don't know it. That's the biggest problem that we have is that we don't know. We're going by what girlfriend told us, what best friend told us, what coworker told us, and Ed, that's not how it goes because they're not experts. They're not professionals. You may have had a situation in something dealing with a house. So now you got a negative toward real estate. So you go tell me, no, man, you don't want to do that, or you heard somebody say that something happened to them. It might not fit your situation at all. So now they're giving you a negative. When you come and talk to me, an expert, I can say, oh, you're very close. Or this is all you need to do. Or you might have a traffic ticket. Pay that ticket. Or you may have a bill that you
Even
slept
a
on.
traffic ticket affects your credit.
A traffic ticket affects your credit.
See, a lot of people don't realize that. You know?
Pay your traffic tickets because they're on there. The government now puts on your credit report a traffic ticket, and that will stop you from getting a house. A $50 ticket, a $100 ticket will stop you from getting your American dream of home ownership. So it's important. Take care of your credit. It's one of the most important things and vital things that you have. If you have good credit and you're not living above your means, Ed, you can almost go out there and get anything. Everything is built in this country on credit.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
what makes this economy is credit.
Right.
And right now, this is one of the best times to ever buy a house. The government programs out there that are there to assist you.
Name some of the programs.
Well, Ed, there are some that I don't want to get into because it doesn't fit everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to get one that fits your situation. But, you know, you have to, and what they're going to do, and eventually, and they're working on is very close. There's an 8-hour class you have to take where they teach
Who?
the state.
The state.
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right.
And there are companies out there that teach it. And they teach you everything about financing, about your mortgage. They teach you about the your inspection.
And this is
interest
free
rate.
from the state.
Well, it's not free, Ed, but it's so inexpensive.
Yeah.
It might cost you $50, $80, maybe $100. But if you qualify for the program, you take this course, you qualify for this program. And you might be able to get the government to help you pay your closing cost. So then there's a program out there, Ed, that they want you to get a home. They just want to make sure you can afford it and that you understand everything. So you have to understand everything about real estate. Maryland, and I must say Maryland, is one of your better states when it comes to real estate, qualifications, contracts, and getting a home. Because their stipulations are to help you, not to hinder you. So I say if you want to, even if you're not ready yet, to buy a home, but talk to someone that can prepare you and get you ready. I'm always there, Ed. I mean, I was doing classes and courses just to prepare you if you're a year away from a home. Know what it is you need to do so you can do it. So when you say, okay, dear, or you want a house. Now, I got a young man, Ed. Right now, he's 29 now. Well, yeah, 29, 30. He was 25 when I first met him. And he bought a house. I worked with him. He bought a house. He bought a little tiny house with nobody but him. It was a little 2-bedroom townhouse. Well, he got married. So now he's got another salary, and they wanted a larger house. So he had good money. He saved money. He listened to me, and he started saving his money. He learned how to not go buy that big car because he had a good job. He learned not to go out and spend all his excess money because he thought, I got this excess money. No, that goes into a savings. Because Murphy, you know Murphy's law is if it will go wrong, can go wrong, will go wrong, and Murphy is going to come to you and visit you at one time or the other. Well, Ed, when he bought his second house from when him and his wife got married,
he used the first house as down payment.
He kept the first house, Ed. He could afford, their two salaries could afford now for him to keep that house. And he bought another house. And now he's got an investment property that he's not paying for. His renter is paying for because what his rent is, what he's charging rent is paying for the note. Well, one of his family members passed and left him some money, left him a nice sum of money. And his wife was pregnant. So he says, okay, now, and the market was right, so he says, I want to get another house. This is how much money I got because I've got this nice settlement from my family member that passed, left me all this money. I got a good job, my good job, and she's pregnant. So he ended up keeping both houses, Ed, and bought a larger house. So now he has money that's coming in. He's building his equity in his house by renting them out. He has 3 homes. He's about 29, 30 years old, and he has 3 homes.
Oh.
He's not wasting his money. See, you either have a liability or it's an asset. See, now he has 2 homes that are assets. See, an asset is when something puts money in your pocket.
All right.
A liability is when it comes out and you got to pay it.
Right.
See, your first house, people don't realize your car, that's a liability. Your phone bill, that's a liability.
Right.
Your grocery bill, that's a liability because you got to pay it out of your pocket.
Right.
But when you have a property and you're renting it out and someone is renting it and paying your note, that's an asset because that's putting equity and money in your pocket. So you got to look at, is what I'm doing going to be a liability or an asset?
Okay, well, tell us about the advice on saving. A lot of people figure, you know, that the saving, but if you save and you have a goal, then you can attain the money you need for a down payment for a house.
And, you know, here's what people fail to realize. Little money makes big money. You say, well, I don't have much money, so I'm going to spend this and spend that. If you're supposed to save at least 10%
okay.
every dollar
so
you make.
you have a system, see? You develop.
If you can't afford 10, do 5. See, here's Ed, once you put money in the bank and put it in the savings, it's never to be touched. So you take $5 away today, $5 away next week, and it builds up. Until, like I said, people say, there's a penny. Oh, I'm not going but a penny. You pick a penny up 100 times, how many you got $1?
Right.
So savings is, start living below you. Once you save money, put it in the bank, see, anything you do 21 times becomes a habit.
Yeah. Well, you said 21 times. That's
it
enough.
becomes, that's just the nature of man. It becomes a habit. You don't miss the money you put away because you never got it. So you start living then, how are you living? Below your means because you're putting money away. It's not for that big TV when it goes on sale. It ain't for that big SUV that you want. You know, or it's not for say, honey, we got this money, now let's go out. Your taxes. Most people make the biggest mistake. Every year they wait till they get their taxes so they can go do this and do that.
Buy something.
No, put that money away. If you're going to do anything, put it away and save it. You can say, take a little portion of it, but your taxes should never be money. You say, okay, I'm going on vacation. I'm going to buy this big thing, that big thing. That's money you put away. So now that's an asset because you're building. You're building. It's when you're spending it that it's a liability because you aren't accumulating anything that's going to give you value back. That's going to build you to have more.
Right.
See, that person, that big car, ain't going to build you to have more.
Okay, what about, you know, some situations where people are put in that they can't control, and one of them is when they have death in the family and they have to deal with the real estate. Well, how do you go about that? So many times people, you know, it's a time, you know, that it's, they're not thinking, you know, like they should. How do you get around that?
And you got to prepare for it. Life is a circle. What goes around comes around. As soon as you're born, you're going to pass.
Yeah.
If you are ailing or you're senior or whatever, always have a living will. Please, everyone, the important, please, I can't say enough, get a living will. So if something happens to you, it won't be a fight over this and fight over that. You see, when you're mourning someone, that's when you aren't thinking correct and you're at your weakest. So you got people out there prey on people who lose family members because that's their job.
Yeah.
To get the best they can when you're at your weakest. Have a power of attorney. Get someone that can handle your finances and everything that you can trust to handle it. So when you have a family meeting, you know, you work it out and this one person is the spokesman instead of having to go into probate. Because if it goes into probate, which probate means, you know, you got to go to the courts and settle who gets what, who does what, and what's what. And that's very time consuming.
And usually the attorney gets most of the money, right?
They'll get, yes, they're going to get a lot of it now because it's expensive when you go into probate. But when you have that power of attorney or you have that will, that saves a lot. Please, everyone, I can't emphasize enough how important it is. I don't care if you're 15 or 20, 30 or 40 or 50, have that living will.
Yeah, but most people, you know, they have a tendency, if they're young, I would say they have a tendency not to think in terms of will. How do you promote that?
It's through education.
Okay.
You have to take time to sit down with your children and show them and explain to them the importance of saving and having your own. One of the biggest mistakes I think we make is we want our children to have more than we had. So we give them a TV in their bedroom. We give them the latest iPhone, the latest iPad, the latest designer stuff, instead of sitting down, talking and teaching them and showing them. Every time you pay your bills, your children should be sitting there with you to show them how much it costs for the house, how much food.
Survive, right?
Yes, and show them the value of a dollar. Stop giving these kids money and give them a job. Your job is keep your room clean, I'll pay you. Do good in school, I'll pay you. Take out the trash, I'll pay you. Now they have a job. They're learning the value of the dollar, their own money.
And when they want something, then they have their own
Right,
money.
Dad, oh, I just saw shoes, or I saw this outfit I want. No, you got a job. You buy it. And I guarantee you, when they buy it, you won't see it laying all over the floor, all balled up. Well, they won't loan it to a friend because that's their money. And they're learning the value of their money. Ed, I had a client I was coaching about 4 weeks ago. And when I went over there, we were talking, and they got 3 children. One is 11, 13, and 16. And what the father did, he was telling us, he taught his son about the value of money. And his son ended up telling me that, you know, my father taught me about savings and stuff. So instead of me going out buying these name brand things, I'll invest in stock.
Wow.
So every time if I go out, say if I go out and hypothetically buy a name brand suit, I'm going to look and see if I can buy stock in that company. So every time somebody buys a suit, they're asset to me.
Yeah. Now that's a different approach that, as far as being successful. Actually getting involved in stock. Now, tell us a little bit about how did a person get involved with that? You know, a lot of
you got experts out there that handle that do that.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you, if you have a company or a name brand that you like, find out how much their stock is. And
you approach it with the stock. In other words,
or
right.
there are experts. I say I'm not an expert at that, Ed. I mean, I can tell you and give you good stocks, tell you what's a good stock on some things.
Right.
But when these companies go public, buy and buy early. Don't care what Nike stock is. Don't care what Facebook stock is.
Right.
You know it's always going to grow. Or these you got these little, start off with these little penny stocks, just to teach your kids the value of going through the paper, finding out how to save money, how to buy stock. So every time somebody buys something, it's a cha-ching in your pocket. That's an asset. You're not going to win all the time.
No.
But you learn about money. See, teach them about money, the value of money, the value of credit. You don't have to have the latest and biggest car. Because one of the worst investments you can ever make is buying an automobile.
Automobile.
Because as soon as you sign the dotted line, you owe more on that car than it's worth.
Right.
But it's a necessity. See, Ed, I never buy a new car. My new car days are over. I'll go buy a car that's 2-3 years old, still under warranty, ain't got but a few thousand miles on it. Because I had my neighbor, I told my neighbor, and he just went and bought another Cadillac. He went and looked at a new Cadillac that was up in over almost 50,000. He went and bought a 2-year-old Cadillac that had 13,000 miles on it, and paid half as much for it.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a new car and one that's got a few thousand miles on it? Just a year. But now he's got a car that he doesn't have to lose money on because he owes twice on what it's worth. It's still under warranty. And he got a car that he wanted. It wasn't a new model, but point A to point B.
Well, for instance, like getting back to the stock now, how would a young person, is there courses that the universities or I would say the community colleges where young people can get involved? Very few of them know anything about stock.
It's a market that you got to learn. And it's something you just jump out there and do. But like I tell you, one of the greatest inventions in the history of man, in in the history of man was the internet.
The
It
internet.
connected you to the world and all world information. All you got to do is go and put in stock and information on stock. And you self-taught, like I say, a formal education will give you a job and maybe keep you working. But a self-education will give you wealth beyond your means. See, when you go to college and you go to school, everything you learn isn't going to be used in your life. But go get your education. Get your education. But Ed, when you're self-taught, you sit and study and learn that for which you need to learn for that special thing that you want, that's when you become wealthy. Because you look at these people that own these big corporations. Warren Buffett, Oprah Winfrey, look at Magic Johnson. You think they're the smartest person in their company? No, they're not. They go hire those who are experts and have a degree and know that field for which they need. So you just do your homework. See, life is education. You got homework every day. As long as you live, you got homework.
Right.
Do your homework. Do your research.
Okay, you've heard it from Mr. Murray here, and continuing, what we want to do is that this success thing has a lot to do with learning. And one of the most important things that all of us deal with, all of us, is real estate. And real estate is something, investment that you can hang on to. You can look around. He gave you some examples. So, hey, ask your daddy or your mama or somebody about stock, and then let me know about it. 301-467-5053. See you next time.